Ladies and gentlemen, let's paint a picture, shall we? Imagine waking up every day with a hole in your soul, a void that no distraction, no replacement, no act of momentary pleasure can fill. You feel it deep down, gnawing at your very being, a part of you missing. It's not the absence of people, not the loss of material wealth, not the lack of some fleeting success. It's the absence of something truly extraordinary, something that once experienced could never be replicated or replaced. And now, let's take it a step further. Imagine this. You are surrounded by a world of ordinary, a world where everyone lives in their little bubbles, moving through their days with predictable routine, content in their mediocrity. The noise of their endless chatter is deafening, but beneath it, the silence in your heart screams louder. There's something within you that yearns for more than what this world has to offer, more than what they are willing to settle for. The world is full of people who don't know what they are missing because they have never tasted what you've tasted, never felt what you've felt. But you, deep down, know it. You know that you have touched something extraordinary, something so rare that the memory of it haunts you and it will never leave you, no matter how many days you live in this sea of dullness. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the tragedy. In a world that values convenience, comfort, and the familiar, there are those who, for a moment, touched greatness, and now they regret. They regret losing it. They regret walking away from it. They regret allowing the extraordinary to slip through their fingers like sand. You see, it's easy to get caught up in the ordinary, in the things that don't ask much of you. It's easy to fall into the lull of the mundane and convince yourself that this is enough. But deep inside, where the truth lives, you know it isn't. And the ones who were lucky enough to experience greatness, to stand on the precipice of something amazing, will never forget it. But here's the catch, my friends, because here's where it gets dark. You may not know it yet, but that void, that pain, it grows. It doesn't fade with time. It doesn't disappear when you try to distract yourself with another day of mindless tasks. It doesn't go away when you convince yourself that you're content, that you're happy with what you have. Number, it sits there, quietly gnawing away at you, a constant reminder that you lost something precious, something irreplaceable. And the more you try to ignore it, the more it grows, until one day you wake up and realize that it's consumed you. It has shaped you, molded you, turned you into someone you never intended to become. The regret becomes your shadow. It will follow you wherever you go, and you will never be free of it. And why? Why does this happen? Because once you've experienced something extraordinary, you can't go back to ordinary. There's no going back to the comfort of mediocrity once you've glimpsed greatness. It haunts you. It whispers to you in the dark. It tells you that there's more out there, that you are capable of more, that you don't have to settle for the life that everyone else is living. But that's the problem, isn't it? Most people don't want to hear that. Most people don't want to acknowledge that they are capable of something more. So, they settle. They convince themselves that what they have is enough, that they should be grateful for what's in front of them. But you, my friends, will never be able to do that. Once you've had a taste of the extraordinary, once you've touched something real, something that transcends the ordinary boundaries of existence, you will always long for it. You'll search for it in everything, but it won't be there. It will never be there. And that is the true torment. Because in a world that celebrates the ordinary, you will forever be an outcast, chasing after something that doesn't exist anymore. The extraordinary, once it's gone, is gone for good, and you will be left with the emptiness, the realization that you let it slip away, What does it say about you? What does it say about your choices, your decisions, the things you gave up for fleeting comfort? That's the true horror of it all. You allowed the extraordinary to slip away in exchange for something that, in the end, doesn't matter. You walked away from the one thing that could have changed everything for you, and now all you have left is the suffocating weight of your own regret, the weight of knowing that you were too afraid to fight for it, too afraid to go after what you knew in your bones was meant for you. Let me tell you something, and this is where the darkness of the truth will hit you the hardest. You can never get that back. You can never reclaim what you lost, no matter how hard you try. You can chase it, yearn for it, but it will always remain just out of reach. The extraordinary, once lost, slips into the realm of memory, a faded echo of what once was, and all you are left with is the endless ache of longing. Think about it. What's worse than realizing that you could have had it? What's worse than knowing that all it would have taken was one more push, one more decision, one more moment of courage to hold on to it? And yet, you didn't. You let fear, doubt, comfort, and conformity talk you out of it. You convinced yourself that it wasn't worth the fight. You convinced yourself that what everyone else was doing was good enough, and now you pay the price. Because the price of losing something extraordinary is not just regret, it's the hollowing out of your soul. It's becoming a shell of who you could have been, a mere whisper of your potential. The world of ordinary people will never understand this pain. They will never know what it feels like to carry the weight of something extraordinary slipping away from them. They will never experience the despair of knowing that they could have had more, but they chose to settle for less. And they will never understand that deep, primal yearning that will haunt you for the rest of your life. They will never know the torment of watching your dreams evaporate before your eyes, of seeing the possibilities fade into the background as you try to force yourself to be content with the dull, uninspiring life they are offering. But you know what it's like to taste greatness, and you will never, ever forget that taste. It will be there with you in every moment of mediocrity. It will taunt you in every fleeting moment of satisfaction, because deep down, you know what could have been, what should have been, and in your heart, there will always be the echo of the extraordinary that you let slip away. So I ask you this, are you ready to live with that regret? Are you ready to accept the emptiness that comes with knowing that you could have had it all, but chose to live in the world of ordinary instead? Are you willing to let your soul wither away in the absence of what you once touched, what you once held in your hands? Because if you are, then fine. Keep living the way you are. Keep settling for what's easy and familiar. But if you can't shake the feeling that you are meant for something more, if you can't stop thinking about the extraordinary that's just out of reach, then let me tell you this. Don't let it go. Don't let it slip away. Fight for it. Because in the end, the greatest regret will not be the pain of the struggle. It will be the knowledge that you let something extraordinary slip through your fingers forever. I must ask you, in the deepest corners of your soul, to confront the question, what are you truly willing to sacrifice in your pursuit of greatness? And make no mistake, greatness is not something that comes wrapped in a pretty bow. It is not something that is handed to you on a silver platter. Greatness comes at a price, and that price is something that very few are ever truly prepared to pay. It demands your time, your energy, your focus, and yes, your heart. It will stretch you beyond your limits. It will push you to the brink of what you thought was possible. It will take everything you have, your sweat, your tears, your sacrifices, and most certainly your courage. But for those who are willing to pay that price, for those who are willing to endure the struggle and the pain, the rewards are unimaginable. So, why is it that so many of us, when faced with that choice, choose to let it go? Why is it that when the extraordinary comes knocking, we close the door? Why do we turn our backs on the very thing that could elevate us, transform us, and give us a glimpse of something beyond the ordinary? The simple truth is that greatness is terrifying. The extraordinary is terrifying. It demands everything from you. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. It forces you to break free from the chains of mediocrity, to shatter the glass ceiling of comfort that most people spend their lives building. And most people are terrified of breaking out of their comfort zones. They are terrified of failing. They are terrified of losing what little they have in the pursuit of something far greater. But let's face it, failure is inevitable. It is part of the process. It is the price you pay for even trying to reach the extraordinary. The path to greatness is not a straight line. It is full of obstacles, setbacks, and moments where you will question if it's all worth it. But here's the thing you need to understand. The regret of never even trying, the regret of letting something extraordinary slip through your fingers will be far worse than any failure you encounter along the way. That's the price you pay when you settle for the ordinary, when you allow fear and doubt to control your decisions. You see, the world doesn't reward the ones who play it safe. The world doesn't reward those who follow the rules, who stay within the lines, who accept mediocrity as the norm. The world rewards those who are willing to push the boundaries, to challenge the status quo, to go beyond what is expected of them. But those people, the ones who rise to the occasion and seize the extraordinary, often pay a steep price. They face criticism, rejection, and doubt from those who are too afraid to do the same. They sacrifice relationships, comfort, and sometimes their own well-being, all in the pursuit of something greater than themselves. And yet, even with all the pain and the suffering, they would not trade it for anything, because they understand that the extraordinary is the only thing worth chasing. But here's the bitter reality that most people never want to face. You can never be truly great unless you're willing to lose everything. You have to be willing to walk away from the ordinary. You have to be willing to leave behind everything that makes you comfortable, everything that makes you feel safe, and throw yourself into the unknown. It's a dark, terrifying place, but it is also the only place where true greatness can be born. You can't have one without the other. You can't have the extraordinary without the fear, without the struggle, without the sacrifice. The price of greatness is high, but the reward is immeasurable. And yet, most people never make it to that point. They never make it to the extraordinary because they can't handle the pressure. They are too afraid to step into the unknown. They are too afraid to leave behind the life they know, even if it means staying in the suffocating embrace of mediocrity. And that's where the real tragedy lies. Because in a world that is saturated with the ordinary, with the comfortable, with the predictable, there are so few who are willing to reach for something more. So few who are willing to put everything on the line and say, I will not settle for less. I will not accept a life that doesn't challenge me. I will not let the extraordinary slip through my fingers. But that is what the ordinary world does to you. It dulls your senses. It numbs you to the extraordinary. It makes you believe that the status quo is good enough. It convinces you that just getting by is all that matters. And for so many people, this becomes the ultimate tragedy. They wake up one day, look at their life, and realize they have spent it all chasing after the wrong things. They have spent their time chasing comfort, chasing security, chasing what is easy, and in doing so, they have sacrificed the very essence of what makes life worth living, the pursuit of the extraordinary. Now think about this for a moment. Imagine standing on the edge of your life, looking back at all the choices you've made, can you truly say you have given it all? Can you truly say that you have chased the extraordinary with everything you have? Or have you allowed fear, self-doubt, and the comfortable grip of mediocrity to dictate your path? If you can say you've given it your all, then you know the price, you know the struggle, you know the feeling of being stretched beyond your limits, of pushing through the pain, of sacrificing everything in the pursuit of something greater. And even if you haven't reached the extraordinary yet, you know that the pursuit itself is worth more than anything the ordinary world could ever offer. But if you haven't, if you find yourself staring into the abyss of regret, if you feel the weight of all the things you've let slip through your fingers, then I am here to tell you this: it's not too late. It's never too late to reclaim what was lost. It's never too late to step into the unknown, to fight for something greater, to reach for the extraordinary. Yes, it will be painful. Yes, it will be difficult. Yes, you will face obstacles, and yes, you will fail. But what's worse, living a life of ordinary regret or stepping into the fire of greatness, knowing that no matter what happens, you gave it everything you had? Regret is a silent killer. It doesn't scream in your face, but it eats away at your soul. It settles into the cracks of your mind, whispering, what if? What if you had done things differently? What if you had taken that chance? What if you had risked everything for something greater? And those whispers don't go away. They follow you, haunt you, and keep you up at night. The price of losing the extraordinary is not just the pain of the present. It's the lingering, gnawing feeling that you could have been something more, but you didn't have the courage to fight for it. And let me tell you something. That is a burden no one should have to carry. No one should have to live with the weight of their own potential unfulfilled. No one should have to wake up every morning knowing that they let greatness slip through their fingers because they were too afraid, too comfortable, or too complacent to reach for it. You owe it to yourself, to the very essence of who you are, to fight for the extraordinary. So ask yourself now, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to face the fear, the doubt, the discomfort, and the sacrifice that comes with chasing the extraordinary? Or will you continue to live in the shadows of mediocrity, forever haunted by the echo of what you could have had? The choice is yours. You can choose to settle for the ordinary and live in the prison of regret for the rest of your days. Or you can choose to step into the unknown, to risk it all, to fight for something greater. Because at the end of your life, the only thing that will matter is whether or not you fought for the extraordinary, whether or not you dared to live a life worth living, whether or not you were bold enough to reach for what was beyond your grasp. And if you don't, if you let it slip away, then you will be left with nothing but the haunting question, what if? And that, my friends, is a fate far worse than any failure or struggle along the way to greatness. Don't let it happen to you. Don't let the extraordinary slip through your fingers forever. Because there will come a moment, a single breath in time, when you will realize, truly realize, that the world you have settled for is not the one you were meant to live in. And it won't be an earth-shattering epiphany, not a sudden blaze of light that reveals the truth to you. Number. It will be a quiet, insidious realization that creeps into your soul, like a slow-burning fire, eating away at the edges of your being until you are consumed by the knowledge that you have let something truly remarkable slip away. And when that moment hits you, when that undeniable truth seizes your heart, it will be too late. The extraordinary will be gone, and what you will be left with is nothing but the ghost of what could have been, the bitter remnants of a life that never reached its potential. You think it won't happen to you, don't you? You think that you are immune, that you will always recognize when the extraordinary comes into your life, that you will be able to grab hold of it and never let it go. But I assure you, life is deceptive in its simplicity. The extraordinary doesn't announce itself. It doesn't parade in front of you in grand gestures or fireworks. It slips into your life quietly, almost imperceptibly, disguised in moments of everyday existence, hidden in the places you least expect. And it is in those moments when you are least prepared that you must make a decision to either rise to the occasion, to grasp the extraordinary with both hands and hold on for dear life, or to let it slip away into the ether, disappearing into the void, leaving you with nothing but the echo of what could have been. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be telling yourself that you will recognize when the extraordinary arrives. You might be telling yourself that you will know when the time comes to make that choice. But here's the painful truth. Most people don't. Most people don't realize until it's too late. Most people go through their lives with their eyes closed, numbed by the monotony of existence, blind to the opportunities that come their way. And when they finally wake up, when they finally realize what they have lost, it is too late. The extraordinary has slipped through their fingers, and they are left with nothing but the hollow feeling of regret, knowing that they could have been something more, but never took the chance. Why does this happen? Why do so many people fail to recognize the extraordinary when it is right in front of them? The answer is simple: fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of failure. Fear of stepping outside of the comfortable, safe world they have built for themselves. The extraordinary is not something that fits neatly into the box of their carefully constructed lives. It requires breaking down the walls they have so meticulously erected, tearing down the facade they have built to protect themselves from the harshness of reality. It asks them to leave behind the familiar and venture into uncharted territory where nothing is certain, where every step could lead to failure, but also to greatness. And that, my friends, is a terrifying prospect. But let me ask you this: what is the alternative? What is the price of staying where you are? What is the cost of clinging to the ordinary, of refusing to take that leap of faith into the unknown? The price is your soul. The price is your potential. The price is the very essence of what makes you human. The ability to grow, to evolve, to reach for something greater than yourself. When you choose to remain in the safety of the ordinary, when you choose to settle for what is comfortable and predictable, you are choosing to stagnate. You are choosing to waste your life, to squander the very gift of existence that has been given to you. And in doing so, you are allowing the extraordinary to slip through your fingers, forever lost in the currents of time. The truth is, most people never realize what they are missing until it is too late. They go through life following the prescribed path, doing what is expected of them, conforming to the pressures of society and their peers, and never once questioning whether the path they are on is the one that will lead them to the extraordinary. They live in the world of the ordinary because it is safe, it is known, and it requires no effort, no risk, no sacrifice. But there is a price to be paid for this comfort, and that price is the very soul of who they are. The extraordinary, my friends, does not come to those who are content with mediocrity. It does not come to those who are too afraid to reach beyond their limits, to push the boundaries of what is possible. It comes to those who are willing to risk everything to chase after something greater, something more meaningful, something that transcends the ordinary. And here's the catch. Once you have experienced the extraordinary, once you have touched the very edge of what is possible, there is no going back. There is no returning to the life you once knew. You cannot unsee the truth of your potential, and you cannot erase the memory of the extraordinary. It will stay with you, gnawing at you from the inside, a constant reminder of what could have been. And that, my friends, is the true cost of letting the extraordinary slip through your fingers. You will never be the same again. You will never be able to look at the world the same way. You will never be able to accept the ordinary as enough. It will haunt you. This knowledge that you were meant for more, that you were capable of more, and yet you chose to walk away from it. And as the years go by, as you age and reflect on the life you have lived, the weight of that regret will become unbearable. You will look back and wonder, what if I had taken that chance? What if I had pushed through the fear, stepped outside of my comfort zone, and reached for the extraordinary? What could I have become? And those questions will echo in your mind for the rest of your life, but you will never know the answer. The extraordinary will be gone, and you will be left with the remnants of a life that never fully lived up to its potential. But here's the real horror of it. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to live with the suffocating weight of regret. You don't have to be one of those people who looks back on their life and wonders what might have been. The extraordinary is still out there, waiting for you. It is waiting for you to step forward, to take the risk, to put everything on the line and reach for something greater. And yes, it will be terrifying. Yes, it will challenge you in ways you can't even imagine. Yes, it will push you to your limits and maybe even beyond them. But it will also transform you. It will shape you into the person you were always meant to be. And in the end, when you look back, you will not regret the struggles, the failures, the pain, or the sacrifices. You will only regret the moments when you hesitated, when you allowed fear to hold you back, when you let the extraordinary slip through your fingers. The path to greatness is not an easy one. It is not a path for the faint of heart, but it is a path worth walking. Because the alternative, the path of mediocrity, of living a life that never truly tests your limits, that never pushes you beyond what you thought was possible, is far worse. It is a path that leads to a life of quiet desperation, a life where you are constantly haunted by the knowledge that you could have been more, that you could have done more, but you chose not to. And in the end, that regret will consume you. It will follow you to your grave, and it will be the one thing you cannot escape. So I urge you now, while you still have the time, while you still have the opportunity, reach for the extraordinary. Don't let it slip away. Don't let fear and doubt keep you from the life you were meant to live. Take that first step. Make the leap. Break free from the chains of the ordinary and embrace the unknown. The extraordinary is waiting for you, but only if you have the courage to reach for it. Because at the end of your life, the only thing that will matter is whether you dare to live a life worth living, whether you dare to reach for something beyond the ordinary. Don't let it slip away. Don't let the extraordinary slip through your fingers forever. Make the choice today to fight for it, to claim it, to make it yours. Because if you don't, you will live with the regret for the rest of your life, and that is a fate far worse than any failure or struggle along the way. In the end, the choice is yours. You can either settle for the comfort of the ordinary, letting the extraordinary slip away, or you can summon the courage to reach for something greater. The regret of never trying, of never pushing beyond your limits, will haunt you far more than any failure you may encounter along the way. So don't let the extraordinary fade into the distance. Fight for it, embrace it, and make it yours. Because a life lived in pursuit of greatness is the only life worth living. Don't let it slip through your fingers forever.